Okay, here goes. So the first problem is f of x equals 3 minus 2x, and g of x equals x squared minus x plus 1. So we have f of g of 2. Okay, this means plug 2 in for g of x, and then plug that value into f of x. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do this part, g of 2. Okay, so that means plug 2 in for x everywhere that you see an x. So here, here, and here. So here and here. 4 minus 2 plus 1. So that would be 2 plus 1 is 3. So that means f of g of 2 is equal to f of 3. Now, what does that equal? It means plug 3 in, and we have 3 minus 2 times 3. So that is 3 minus 6, negative 3. Let me just double check my work, because, you know, so tired today. So squared, 2, squared is 4, minus 2. Did I write it down right? Yeah. Okay, we're good. Now the second problem, g of f of x, means replace x with f of x inside of g. So those two places, again, just like we did with 2's, are going to be filled with the entire piece. So that's 3 minus 2x squared minus 3 minus 2x plus 1. Now, I'm not super picky about you solving all these pieces out, because this question is just trying to see if you understand what that means. So I'm not going to be picky about you squaring this and distributing the negative and combining like terms. Okay, now, the next piece is negative 2, 5, 3, negative 10. Okay, it gives you 2 points, and it asks you to give the equation of a line, the slope, the y-intercept, and the x-intercept. So what I need to do first is find slope. Slope. x1, y1, x2, y2. And remember, there's many methods, so I don't care which one you use. Use whichever one you prefer. So 5 minus negative 10, and negative 2 minus 3. So the top becomes positive 15, and the bottom would be negative 5, which gives me a slope of negative 3. So I have completed one of the 4 tasks. I have the slope. Now, I'm going to plug in y equals my slope, x plus b. So the other things I want are going to be this full equation. B is my intercept, and then lastly would be the x-intercept. And so remember, we can plug a point in, one of these 2 points in for x and y to find the b. So that's y5 equals negative 3 times negative 2 plus b. So 5 equals positive 6. I almost wrote negative. Okay, and then I subtract 6, we get negative 1 is b. Great. So I have my slope, I have my b, I have my line now, y equals negative 3x minus 1. So I have 3 of the 4 things. The last thing is to find x-intercept. So that's where y is 0. So 0 equals negative 3x minus 1, add 1, or add the 3x. I don't care. Students, I noticed the other day, did both. So I'll try the plus 3x. So that's 3x equals negative 1. So x equals negative 1/3. So we have all of our 4 pieces. Slope, the line, y-intercept, x-intercept. Okay, on to the next question. Okay, so the next question gives us 4x minus 6y equals negative 18. And it says find the x-intercept, y-intercept, and graphs align. Okay, well, if I'm trying to find x-intercept, y is 0. Okay, so that means 4x minus 6 times 0 equals negative 18. That goes away. So x is, if I divide by 4, I get negative 4.5. Okay, good. So I have my x-intercept now. Because I put 0 in for y. I just followed that idea, 0 in for y, divided both sides by 4. So y-intercept is the same. X equals 0. So I have the same idea, 4 times 0 minus 6y equals negative 18. So this piece goes away, and then divide by negative 6, we have y equals 3. Now, the last thing it asks me to do is to graph. So if y is 0 and x is negative 4.5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. If x is 0 and y is 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, I have my line. It should look like that. Okay, the next question is, are they two lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? We have 2x plus y equals 9, and negative 1/2 x minus y equals 7. Well, I just need these to be y equals. So subtract 2x from this one, and you get y equals negative 2x plus 9. Okay, so minus 2x, we're done with y equals. Now, the next equation, I have to move this over, so that's negative y equals 1/2, because I added on both sides. Plus 7. Now, how do I get rid of this negative? I have to distribute it to all pieces, or multiply everything by negative 1. So that's y equals negative 1/2 x minus 7. So the question is, are these the same slope? No. Not same. Okay, are these the opposite reciprocal? Well, no, they're not opposite. Okay, so that means the answer is neither. Neither. It's neither the same slope nor opposite reciprocal, so it is not parallel and it is not perpendicular. Okay, now on to the next one. The next one says we have a slope of 4 and a point 5, 0. Well, like we did before, we can write y equals 4x plus b. If I have a point, I can just plug the point in. It's that simple. So I plug in the point. I have 0 equals 4 times 5 plus b. 4 times 5 is 20. And then I can move it to the other side. Through subtraction, we get negative 20 equals b. So, what is my equation then? Y equals 4x minus 20. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So I hope that everyone can at least get that one right on the test. Okay. Now, the next two. Substitution and elimination. So the first of the two is 5x minus 2y equals negative 6. And the second equation in this case is already in y equals form. It's already in y equals. So if it's already in y equals, substitution makes sense. So let's substitute this for y in the equation above. So 5x stays the same, minus 2y equals negative 6. But what does y equal? It equals this thing, so we plug it in. Okay, so negative 2 times 5, so we have 5x minus 10x. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4 equals negative 6. Okay. So far, so good. When I combine these two now, right, I have what? I have 5 and negative 10, so that's negative 5x. And when I subtract 4 equals that negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 5, and I get x equals 2. Okay, great. Now I have x. How do I find y? Just plug it in. Just plug it in. That's it. So y equals 5 times 2 minus 2. Well, 5 times 2 is 10 minus 2. 10 minus 2 is 8. So my answer is 2, 8. X, y. Okay, next problem, same sheet there, is elimination. So we have 3x minus 7y equals 12, and 2x minus 5y equals 8. So I need to find something that multiplies and can cancel. So we want to multiply both pieces by something, so that way we can add down, or for Muhammad, subtract if you want. So that way we'll cancel one variable. And so the easiest thing I can see here is this 3 and this 2. So if I do this, where I multiply this one by 2 and this one by negative 3. Okay, so my SIM card ran out of space, so I had to switch SIM cards. So what I was saying is that I multiply the top one by 2 and the bottom one by negative 3. And when I do that, I get, for the top one, 6x minus 14y equals 24. And for the bottom, I get negative 6x plus 15y equals negative 24. And so what that does for me is it allows me to cancel the 6's, and it allows me to cancel these 24's. And then negative 14 plus 15 is positive 1. So y equals 0. Well, that's nice because I can just plug 0 in to find x. And so if I have 3x minus 7 times 0 equals 12. Now it does not matter which one you choose. Okay, you can choose to put the 0 in here or here, doesn't matter. 3x equals 12, x equals 4. So the point at which these two lines cross, or the solution to both lines, is 4, 0. Okay, on the back, we have the word problem. And a few of you skipped it and didn't do it till last. So, but I won't do the same thing. So we have hot dogs. Hot dogs for $12 each. And I'm going to put D for hot dogs, $12 each. And hamburgers for $21 each. And I'll use H for those. And so I know that the cost per hot dog and the cost per hamburger are going to equal something, but I haven't been told what yet. And we also know that Sam bought a total of 13 of each. No, that's not right. A total of 13 hamburgers and hot dogs. So the dogs plus the hamburgers is equal to the total number of each, sorry. And it also says that he paid $237 for that. Okay, so I have a few options here. I can use substitution or elimination. I think I'll use substitution, so I don't have to multiply this by anything. And so I'll just solve this for D, and then I'll plug it in. So D equals 13 minus H. Right, I just subtracted the H from both sides. So we have 12D plus 21H equals 237. Okay, well, what is the hot dogs? Well, that's 13 minus hamburgers. And so 12 times 13, I believe, is 156. Minus 12 times h plus 21, h equals 237. Well, I got to subtract the 156, subtract the 156. Also, I can combine like terms here. So 12 plus what is 21? Well, that would be 9. So 9h equals 7 minus 6 is 1, 23 minus 15 is 8. So hamburgers purchased is 9. So if I know the number of hamburgers, hey, guess what? I have a really nice formula right here that tells me how many hot dogs. So hot dogs is equal to 13 minus the number of hamburgers, which is 9. So 13 minus 9 is 4. So we have 4 hot dogs and 9 hamburgers. On to the next problem. Okay, the next problem is from 4.1. And it has to do with all of those different vocab pieces that we looked at that one day. So first thing A says, list the terms and their degree. Okay, well, I'm just going to write them in the order they're already in. Negative 5x, 3x cubed, 8, 7x to the 5th. Okay, and then I'm going to just separate these with a comma. What's the power or degree for this piece? Well, it's just a 1. This one is 3. Constants, remember, constants have a power or a degree of 0. And lastly, this one is 5. Now, B says to write this in decreasing order. Not D, sorry, B. Remember, decreasing order means start with the highest power and go to the lowest power. Okay, well, that's 7x to the 5th plus 3x cubed minus, remember to bring the signs with each piece, plus 8. So you notice power is decreasing. And C asks 3 things. Leading term, well, that's the term with the highest power, so 7x to the 5th. Then it says the leading coefficient, which is the number in front of the piece or the term with the highest power. And the last thing says, well, what is the constant term? And that's just the term with no variable. So, now, the next piece is adding, subtracting polynomials. Okay, and so we have 12x squared plus 3x plus negative 6x squared minus 5 plus negative 3x squared plus 4. Okay, just double checking because, you know, tonight was not so good as far as me writing things down correctly. Good. Okay. Like terms, like terms, like terms, like terms. X squared, x squared, x squared. 12 minus 6 minus 3. 12 minus 6 is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. So I'm done with x squareds. There's none left. Now on to the x pieces. Well, there's just the one. There's just the one. So plus 3x. And lastly, we'll go with the constants. Remember up here, constant piece. And that would be negative 5 plus 4, so that is negative 1. And we are finished. Okay, next comes multiplication, and this one is, maybe it's a little, you know, excessive, but, you know, we want to make sure we try to do a 2 by 3, which proves we can do all the other ones, a 1 by 1 or a 2 by 2. If we can do a 2 by 3, we can definitely do both of those. So remember, the first piece goes to all three. It has to go to all three. So 2x squared times 3x cubed. 2x squared times 2x squared plus 2x squared times negative 2. So I just multiplied this times each piece. Now, same thing with the negative 6. So negative 6x, 3x cubed. Negative 6x, 2x squared. Negative 6x, negative 2. Okay, so I've written all these terms out. Now I can actually do the multiplication. 2 times 3, 6, x squared times x cubed, x to the 5th. 2 times 2, 4, squared times squared, x to the 4th. 2 times negative 2, negative 2, x squared times, there isn't a variable, so we just keep x squared. Negative 6 times 3, negative 18. X and x cubed is x to the 4th, so x to the 4th. Negative 6 times 2, negative 12. X times x squared, x cubed. And then lastly, we have negative 6 times negative 2, positive 12, and then the x is just x. Okay, so we have 6x to the 5th. That doesn't combine. Okay, we have to combine the 4th powers. Okay, so what's 4 and negative 18? Negative 14x to the 4th. Okay, x squared, or x cubed. X cubed does not have any other pieces, so we just write it down. X squared also does not have any other pieces, so we write it down. And lastly, the 12x does not have any other pieces. And so we're finished. We have 6x to the 5th minus 14x to the 4th minus 12x cubed minus 2x squared plus 12x. Okay, now I'll go ahead and do this one down here as well. This one is 4x to the 6 y cubed minus 12x to the 8 y to the 6 plus 16 x to the 9 y squared. So remember, when we're factoring out the greatest common factor, I have to ask myself first, what number in these coefficients do they share? Well, 4 is the smallest, and 4 does go into both of these, so 4 would be the answer. Then I have to look at the powers for the variables. I find the variable x that has the lowest power. Well, that's a 6. So 4x to the 6. Then I have to go to y and find the same thing, the smallest variable for y. Well, that's a cube, that's a 6, that's a 2. So y squared. And then we have y to the 6 and y squared, so that's going to be y to the 4. And lastly, we have 16 over 4, which is 4, x to the 9 and x to the 6, so that's x cubed. And then y squared and y squared, so those reduce and we're finished. We've completely factored the 4x to the 6 y squared out of this thing here. So our final answer, 4x to the 6 y squared, y minus 3x squared y 4 plus 4x cubed. So those two things multiplied to each other. Okay, lastly, we have factor by grouping. 18a7 plus 6a4 plus 9a4 plus 3a. Now, I know these both have the same power, but don't be tempted to put them together, because then we'll have to undo that in order to do factor by grouping. And I think today's lesson on like the multiplying a times c and then breaking that middle piece apart kind of makes more sense as to why there's two pieces here. But what do these two things share in common? Well, 18 and 6 share 6 in common, and then we take the smallest power, so that would be a to the 4. What's left? 18 over 6 is 3. A7, and we take out A4, which also gives us a 3. Okay, well, A4 divided by 6A4 is just 1. Well, that's nice. Okay, well, what do these two things have in common? Well, 9 and 3 have 3 in common. A4 and A have A in common. So, what's left when I take 9 and divide it by 3, I get 3. A4, if I take out 1, I have 3 left. And then lastly, if I take 3a and divide it by 3a, or take that away, I end up with 1 again. So what's our common piece? Which would be 3a cubed plus 1. And we're going to multiply that by the 6a4 and 3a. And so I write those two pieces inside here, 6a to the 4 plus 3a. And I've officially finished factoring by grouping.